Yes, a very good evening, everyone. Now, today we have organized this special session with an objective to inform you about the optional paper of public administration for UPSC examinations, and there would be a wholesome discussion that I will be taking up with respect to any individual who is right now in the process of choosing this optional. So it may so happen that you are right now not completely convinced and you are still in that process, a dilemma whether you should go for public administration as an optional or not. What I will be doing is that I will be informing you of some specific conditions, some specific ideas which will help you make that very decision. If some of you have already chosen public administration as an optional, so in that case I will also be telling you what are the specific focus areas and how should you go about your preparation. How should you go about your preparation? And thirdly, what would be our strategy? Because we are coming up with a program on public administration. So what would be your what will be our strategy to deal with that very optional? Now, so let's just start with our discussion. Yes, a very good evening, everyone. Okay. Now, primarily, I have divided the whole discussion into three important components, which is public administration, what, why, and how. There are primarily three things that I will be talking about. ठीक है, तीन बातें. First of all, what is public administration? So when we say public administration, we will be talking about what is public administration. So for those who need to have an idea, that public administration as an optional, what is it? है क्या ये? Because some of you, though you have gone through the syllabus, but you may still not necessarily be able to understand what is the content of that syllabus. So I will explain what is the content of that syllabus. You will get to know a basic contour of what public administration optional comprises of, and when we are dealing with this very optional, what are the specific expectations that we should have. So most of us, we make this very important mistake with respect to our optionals, that we choose an optional without understanding the true nature of it. We are not going to necessarily understand this. We are going to just choose that very optional. ठीक है, मैं ये कह रहा हूं कि the optional that we generally choose for, that optional primarily we go on the basis of, हम सिर्फ इन बातों का ध्यान रखते हैं कि मार्केट में क्या न्यूज है, लोग कौन सा ऑप्शनल चूज कर रहे हैं, without understanding our capabilities and the content of that optional. So I will be talking about what exactly is public administration, what exactly is the very option. ठीक है. Secondly, why. एक बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन होता है, that when it comes to any optional, why should we choose that? वो ऑप्शनल हम क्यों चूज करें? And that is where we tend to get confused. ठीक है, ज्यादातर हमें कंफ्यूजन होता है कि if we are going for that optional, अगर हम किसी ऑप्शनल को चूज कर रहे हैं, then in that case क्यों उस ऑप्शनल को चूज किया जाए, व्हाई नॉट सम अदर ऑप्शनल्स, ठीक है, व्हाई नॉट सम अदर ऑप्शनल्स. एंड थर्डली, हाउ, दैट इज इफ यू हैव ऑलरेडी, अगर आपने पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को अपना ऑप्शनल ऑलरेडी चूज कर लिया है, in that case how are we going to do what, how are we going to pursue our discussion, how are we going to pursue our discussion, ठीक है, हम किस तरीके से अपने डिस्कशन को परस्यू करेंगे. ओके, सो लेट्स स्टार्ट विद दिस वेरी आइडिया. व्हाट इज पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन? रिमेंबर, there is only one choice that you have in your UPSC examinations, और वो choice है, the choice is that you have to choose an optional paper, otherwise you have absolutely no choice. When it comes to your general studies, it's a compulsory paper, essays compulsory, you know, any other thing, whether it is your prelims, whether it is your mains examination, whether it is your interviews, all of it is predefined. It is, the decision is already taken up by the UPSC. The only thing that you can choose, the only specific specific decision that you have, that you, it is up to you that you will be taking, वो discussion होता है with respect to public, with respect to optionals. ठीक है, तो आप सिर्फ और सिर्फ अपने optionals के लिए decision ले सकते हो, and इसके अलावा यूपीएससी प्रिपरेशंस में आपके लिए और कोई भी डिसीजंस नहीं लिया जाएगा. यू विल नॉट बी टेकिंग दोस डिसीजंस. ठीक है, सो ऑप्शनल्स आर टू बी चोजन वेरी केयरफुली. ऑप्शनल्स आर टू बी चोजन वेरी केयरफुली. बहुत ही केयरफुली हमें अपने ऑप्शनल पेपर्स को देखना पड़ता है, बहुत ही केयरफुली अपने ऑप्शनल पेपर्स को देखना पड़ता है कि कौन सा ऑप्शनल हमें चूज करना है. ठीक है, सो द फर्स्ट थिंग इज, लेट्स ट्राई एंड अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. नाउ पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन बेसिकली इज एन ऑप्शनल वेयर यू स्टडी व्हाट, what do you basically study? You basically study management of government organizations. What do you study? Management of government organizations. आप पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में क्या पढ़ते हो? आप पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन एज एन ऑप्शनल में सिर्फ और सिर्फ मैनेजमेंट ऑफ गवर्नमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, किसी भी गवर्नमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को किस तरीके से मैनेज किया जाता है, how are those organizations managed, this is primarily what you study. Remember, जब भी हम पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के बारे में सोचते हैं तो हमारा डिसीजन या हमारी जो सोच है वो सिर्फ इस बात को लेकर होती है कि हम किसी गवर्नमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के बारे में पढ़ते हैं कि हाउ डज द ऑफिस ऑफ डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर वर्क, हाउ डज द ऑफिस ऑफ the superintendent of police work, and etc. But this is not what what is the complete idea of public administration. Public administration is about what? Public administration is about overall study of the government machinery. What did I say? Overall study of the government machinery. It involves an overall study of the government machinery. It involves an overall study of the government machinery. So, one of the most important aspects that you study in public administration is this. what is the government machinery from top to bottom, and how you proceed in order to study them. Clear? Secondly, you also in public administration you also study in public administration managerial skills. क्योंकि in your government organization, what do you actually do? करते क्या हो आप? You manage. You are responsible for managing. You are not the one, as a civil servant, you are not the one who is doing everything. You are not the one who is doing everything. You are the one who is making others do what the objective of the organization is. Objective organization का क्या है? ये objective आप दूसरों से काम करवाते हो, ना कि खुद. You don't do it by yourself. That means managerial skills or having managerial skills is core to the study of public administration. It is core to the performance of. It is core to the performance of public administration as a duty. And that is the reason why in public administration you also study about, in fact, the whole of paper 1, in public administration, the whole of paper 1 in public administration primarily deals with what? The whole of paper 1 in public administration deals with management and administration. So it is about managerial skills. So what is planning, how the planning is to be done, what is coordinating, what are the different theories of management, all of this is basically what you study in paper 1. ठीक है? That means दो बातें जो मैंने अभी तक की हैं as to what public administration optional is about is, first thing, you read here how the government machinery functions. You have a knowledge of the overall functioning of the government. So what is the role of each and every, no, you will read about law and order, you will read about office of district collector, you will also read about how union administration functions, what are the different secretariats that are there. But that is something which you read in paper 2. And in paper 1, the very objective of paper 1 is that you read about different administrative theories, management theories, where you gain how administration should run. So that managerial skills that are there, that is something which you read about in your public administration paper 1. That is what it is. Okay? Coming to the second point, why public administration? The question is why? Why public administration? What you need to understand here is that public administration is one of the most sought after optionals. It is one of the most sought after optionals. What we should do is, let's take another slide and discuss this. It is one of the most favored optionals. It is one of the most favored optionals. Now, why am I saying this? Why it is one of the most favored optionals? For multiple reasons. पहली बात, people belonging to, students, aspirants belonging to any background, you can do what? You can easily opt for public administration. You can easily opt for public administration. You don't require any specific background in public administration, which is unlike other optionals. जैसे अगर आपने, suppose you have opted for some other optional like history, political science, geography, etc. These are a bit technical optionals. Now, these are technical optionals, which means if you have a background, it is preferable. I am not saying that everyone who has a background only they go for these optionals, but those who have a background, they do what? They are, no, they generally have a favorable side to it because they have already studied it during their graduation days. They have already studied it during their post-graduation days maybe. So for them, preparing and choosing this optional is absolutely, it is very natural. It's a natural decision that is to be taken. But that is not the case when it comes to public administration. Why? Because public administration generally is not public administration is not what you will generally see. You will not generally see public administration as what? As something which is provided during graduation. You will not see that. So होता ये है that people from all background go for public administration. So it doesn't matter आपने graduation या post graduation में कौन सा subject लिया था. It doesn't matter. It may so happen that public administration, no, you have some very different background. You have an engineering by background, you are a doctor by background, ठीक है? It does not really matter because any individual, whether you belong to sciences, whether you belong to social sciences, you can easily opt for public administration as an optional, ठीक है? So that is one thing. ये उन individuals के लिए भी suitable है who are not comfortable with those individuals who are not comfortable, those individuals who are not comfortable with those who are not comfortable with their background, subjects. So if you are an individual who, while during your graduation days, the option, whatever topic that you had chosen for, whatever subjects that you have chosen for, but you think that you are not comfortable with it. No, you are not comfortable with it and you don't want to go for it as an optional. In that case also, public administration becomes a very natural choice because people who are belonging to diverse backgrounds, people who are not necessarily comfortable with the subjects that they had opted for during their bachelor's degree, they are all, no, where you can simply do what they can choose for public administration as an optional. Secondly, whenever we talk about public administration, it is also one of the most favored optionals because it has an overlap. It has an overlap with the GS paper, and the overlap that public administration has with your GS paper, that is not something which is there with any other optionals. That is not there. Yes, if you have chosen for one optional, maybe history, geography, sociology, any optional, you will find that there is an overlap that is present with all optionals. But that kind of overlap which public administration has is not something which you will find, is present in any optionals. Like, if we just see GS paper 2. In GS paper 2, you have something called as the polity and governance. In your general studies paper 2, you have polity and governance. And if you look at your public administration optional includes both polity as well as your governance aspect. It chooses that. If you look at the offices of president, governor, the offices of how the union government functions, the offices of the chief minister, the panchayati raj institutions, the judiciary, all of it is present in public administration as an optional. All of it is present in public administration as an optional. So there is almost a complete overlap. That is there between public administration paper 2 and your polity and governance part, except for international relations. International relations is not a part of public administration, but otherwise you will see almost a complete overlap being there. That is the first idea. Then comes, look at GS paper 3. In GS paper 3, you have topics like urbanization, planning, disaster management. These are your topics of GS paper 3. And if you look at the syllabus of public administration closely, you will find that these topics are also mentioned in your public administration. Disaster management, very much a part of administration. Planning in India, how planning has evolved in India, what is imperative planning, what is indicative planning, the presence of planning commission, the presence of Niti Aayog, all of this, ये सारी चीजें is very much a part of your public administration paper as well. Then comes the third part, which is GS paper 4. GS paper 4. In your general studies paper 4, in your general studies paper 2, paper 4, you will find that there are topics that are overlapping with GS paper 2. There are topics that are overlapping with GS paper 2. Suppose we talk about probity in governance. Now this is, if you look at the content of it, you will find that this is absolutely the same as to what is mentioned in GS paper 2, and it is also mentioned in public administration paper 2. Similarly, when we talk about answering of case studies, answering of case studies requires what? Administrative knowledge. That is, in a situation, how will an administrator react? What would be the concerns that he will have, and accordingly, how will he answer to those concerns? You will find this is something which is a complete overlap with what public administration as an optional teaches us. That is what it teaches us. It teaches us managerial skills. It teaches us what are the specific things that an administration needs to take into consideration. What are the specific functions that are to be performed by the administrator? All of these ideas that are there, it will help you in framing case studies, in understanding case studies, and it will also help you in doing what? It will also help you in answering in a very structured manner the case studies. So you can see that this particular optional that is there, and in between you have public administration. The kind of overlap that public administration as an optional has, this is not there with any other optionals. Yes, every optional does claim some overlap with general studies, but not as much as public administration. No one can claim that, and that is the reason. That is the second reason why we should opt for public administration as an optional. Sath hi sath, what you also need to understand is that whenever you get into services, after you get into services, what you are going to do is basically you are going to take up public administration. You are specifically informed, you are specifically taught the same ideas which you are studying here itself. Okay, the same ideas that you are basically studying here, the same things you study there. Okay, now coming to how, if you are an individual who has already decided, if you have already decided that public administration is your optional, these are the things that you have to primarily focus upon. These are the three things, three components. ये वो तीन component हैं जो पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के लिए एब्सोल्युटली इंपॉर्टेंट मस्ट है. व्हाट आर दोस? फर्स्ट, conceptual clarity. Every optional has some specific concepts. Every optional has some specific concepts. Until unless you are thorough with those concepts, you will not be able to perform well in those optionals. इसीलिए conceptual clarity. Including conceptual clarity. Secondly, correlating the concept. मतलब क्या है? एक कॉन्सेप्ट को दूसरे कॉन्सेप्ट से जोड़ना. जो एक टॉपिक में आपने पढ़ा है, उस एक टॉपिक को दूसरे टॉपिक से जोड़ना. ठीक है? Anything that you have read as a part of one topic, you should have the capability to understand how you can use one concept while writing answers for others. What did I say? You should have an understanding. What did I say? You should have an understanding of how to use one concept, in multiple areas of public administration. एक ही चीज को दूसरे जगह पर, दूसरे एरियाज में किस तरीके से आप यूज कर सकते हो, दैट इज बेसिकली व्हाट पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन डिमांड्स. Otherwise, public administration with just simple lucid understanding, that is not sufficient while you are dealing with this optional, at least. And third is answer writing. Why? Interpretation of quotes and then elaborating them. This is something which is so important in public administration that, because most of the questions that are asked, they are generally quotes. So they will give you a statement, you have to interpret and elaborate upon it. Until and unless you develop the capability to interpret those questions correctly, and therefore accordingly do what? Accordingly make them be a part of your vocabulary, and thereby doing what? Thereby using it in your answer writing. Until unless you develop the capability of interpreting questions, interpreting statements, public administration is not, it is not something which you can score good marks in. Interpretation is much more, it is something which is absolutely a must in public administration. And this is where, our job comes in. If you are an individual who has public administration, who has thought of public administration as an optional, and you feel that yes, you are comfortable in choosing this optional, you feel that this is your optional, then this is the three things that we are going to work on. When it comes to the class that is there, in the class, primarily these are the three things that we focus upon. First, we focus upon conceptual clarity. So my job is to ensure that every concept that is present in public administration, you will be able to understand it. Secondly, the very idea of correlating concepts. We always enter into a debate and discussion in the class where you are going to be informed that how you can correlate things. And this is done for what? This is done for almost after every topic. Once we complete the topic, we go through previous year questions, and that is where I inform you that this is what you need to do. Go from one topic and read about those topics, then move to the other topic, and how you can correlate both of them. That is something which we do in the class itself. It helps you a lot. Thirdly, the idea of answer writing. Every class we deal with questions which have been asked from those topics in the previous year. This helps you do what? This helps you into indulging into answer writing. Any individual who understands UPSC as an examination knows the importance of answer writing. You know the importance of answer writing, because unless you qualify, you have that capability, you have that knack of going through questions, trying to write those questions in 200 words. It is very difficult. It is very difficult for you to qualify your mains examination. That is where we come in. All the problems that you have, you would be personally guided by me. I will ensure that your optionals in terms of public administration, the way you write answers, it is in accordance to what the UPSC demands. It is something which you can choose, you can look at it, you will understand in the very first few days of the class. You will understand that this is what is the demand of UPSC examinations. Okay, so primarily three things. I am just going to revise what are the ideas that we have talked about. I have dealt with these three things in a very in this short duration of our discussion. I have dealt with what is public administration for those who do not know anything about the optional. So you will get a knowledge of, okay, what does the optional deal with? What does the optional deal with? Secondly, I have also seen why public administration. We have understood that this is an optional which is the most, one of the most favored optionals. Why? Because primarily students from any background choose it. Secondly, that it is something which overlaps with your general studies to this extent. And no other optional is comparable in this case. No other optional is comparable in this case. And thirdly, we have also discussed what are the specific things that you have to focus in public administration, and what will I be doing when you come to the class. What are the specific things that you have to focus upon? What would be my role? So we have dealt with the optional. What is the content of it, why you should go for it, and how you approach the optional in order to do what? In order to ensure that you qualify for this very examination. Okay, that is it for today. This is the basic idea. We had to just ensure that you know about public administration, and accordingly we have dealt with this. Thank you.